Today's guest is someone I have wanted to have on Trailblazing Talks for quite some time. Elizabeth Ralph is the founder and CEO of the Spiritual Investor Program and the host of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. We first met back in 2021 through Guru Jagat's Visionaries leader group. And over the years, I have so admired the unique way that Elizabeth has brought together investing, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and personal freedom. And you've just expanded that into such a beautiful, incredible container and place. And I'm so excited to welcome you to the show. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. So great. Absolutely amazing. I feel like we've kind of both in our individual ways, because, I'm dying to hear about you. I feel like we both kind of come full circle in a way since that 2021. And I think Guru Jagat would probably be like, yes, good job, girls. Good job, girls.
I feel it. I really feel that. Oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional. That was really so special.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. The Spiritual Investor. How did you come up with that name? What does it mean to you? Because I think a lot of people feel, okay, investment, nothing spiritual about that. And then when you meld them together, it really is such a beautiful art and science. And so I'd love to know how you came up with that and what led you to choose that name.
Actually, the name chose me. I was teaching and I was just in a teaching, and investing has always been very spiritual for me, just because I have always seen money as energy ever since I was a child. I've never not seen it as energy. And so I used the term. I referred to just a spiritual investor. And then the students just went crazy and they're like, oh, that's your brand. That's your name. And I'm like, oh, really? And they were right. Because as soon as they said it, it was like, I knew it. And it was almost like the name had been given to me. And I've never looked back. I never questioned it ever since then.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing. And so for people just discovering you, your story is so incredible. You had a mother who was sort of financially wise. She was an advisor, I believe, which is amazing to kind of grow up with that. And then your father was an entrepreneur.
My grandfather was an entrepreneur. Yeah, her father and my other both of them. So I grew up with two entrepreneurs, a good influence with that. And then my mother was a financial advisor for some part of her life. And so it was always finance and always money was a conversation, but not from lack.
Wow. That's so unique.
It is.
Yeah. It's really unique. And then, so from that sort of foundation, you were in the financial world for a job. And then what was the deciding moment where you said, I don't want to do this anymore. There has to be another way, and I'm going to buy my way out.
Yeah, that was, I was in Australia. I was sitting on a beach in Australia, and I heard some rustling behind me, and lo and behold, a kangaroo came up and was just basically standing in front of me, and I was eating the equivalent of Cheetos. They call them Twisties over there. And I thought, okay, there's a kangaroo in front of me, which they don't typically like people. And I just didn't know anything else to do. I held out my hand, and this kangaroo took the Cheeto from me and put it in there. Just the most surreal thing to even watch a kangaroo eat a Cheeto, right? And then for some reason it moved through me, and I'm like, wow, if this wild animal can define freedom, because clearly it's done this before. I'm not the first human that it's gotten food from, right? Instead of living in the bush, it's decided I'm just going to, connect with these people that come down to this beach. And I said, if a wild animal can do this, why am I sitting here? Basically, I felt like I was very chained to the job. I was a financial trader, and it was just long days. It was We were all there together. It was a great job. I mean, I like the people, but I knew that I didn't want to be there forever, but I also didn't know what to do. And I was like, well, I don't want to leave this great job, but then I don't want to be here either. So when that kangaroo moment came, I thought, wait, I have full jurisdiction of this. So I just need to figure out what is financial freedom for me, which in that moment I figured I just need to cover my monthly cost of living and just live. It's not like I was living minimal, but it's not like I was flying around traveling everywhere. And it was just basically what would cover the mortgage, the groceries, the car, all that, figure that out, create that on a monthly basis, and then finish out my long-term retirement. Once I have those 2 boxes checked, I'm gonna allow myself to be free. Well, so
Mm,
I thought it was gonna take 10 years. It took 8. Now I'm looking back, I could have done it in 3. That's the thing. Like, we
wow.
set the time that we're gonna do it. We're the ones who say how long it takes. And then once I did it, I did have to sort of like, you know, pull my boots up again because I had to walk away from a job. I didn't have to. I walked away from a job with a six-figure bonuses, right? And I had worked my way
Wow.
to the very top. And I had to let go of that. And that was an identity thing because it was really cool. Everywhere I went, there was a certain identity with being at that level in the financial world with a billion-dollar
Sure.
corporation. So then afterwards I was like, "Oh God, who am I? Who am I?" I didn't
Mm,
even know, like, people would ask me, after I left the job, they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I really don't know."
that's amazing. And then that happened. You walked away,
Mhm,
retired at
mhm,
39. It's incredible. Um, and I love what you said about both energy and time is that and I've heard you say it before, we don't have money problems, we have energy problems, or a paraphrase to some effect, where it is not because money, I feel like in general, can feel very dense on this planet, but it doesn't have to. And this is what you're teaching and speaking to, and also the fact that you said I could have done it in 3 years as opposed to 10, and that collapse of time. Can you talk a little bit about those 2
mhm.
topics?
So, I mean, I'll say in general, but I also use specifics from, back then. So, I was using real estate to create, monthly cash flows, and I was using, the stock market in order to sort of, build up the pile for, retirement, for the retirement accounts, right? So, I could have, looking back, leaned in more heavily to the things that I knew that were working. I could have pushed beyond my risk meter, if you were,
Mm,
and I probably could have bought 3 to 4 more properties during that time rather than waiting out. I don't know why. I kind of decided that I felt like that it was going to be more palatable and my life would be easier if I just did like 2 properties a year.
mhm,
But really, I could have done it a totally different way. I also could have bought more expensive properties in Del Mar instead of buying the ones in
mhm,
San Diego, and they would have gone up in equity more. Like, now that it's sort of like now that I know what I know, I could have done things differently. Now, how other people could sort of look at this now and go, "Well, I don't wanna wait 8 years. I wanna do it in 3 years." The whole seed of it all is what's your cost of living? And
right.
so it's really looking at your cost of living not from limitation because you can't create anything from lack. It's looking from it from a place of who am I right now today? And would I
Mm,
would I be in agreement with all of the obligations and the things like I agreed to have this mortgage. I agreed to have this car payment. I agreed to have all of this. Also, a lot of people don't see investing as non-negotiable, which I always have. Like, you can't save your way to wealth anymore. So that should go in there, just like taxes,
mm,
investing, all that stuff. And coming at it from a place of abundance, not from this is what I already make. Who cares what you already make? That was yesterday.
right.
You're the most powerful you've ever been today. If your whole past blew up, like if you didn't have a past, just someone like literally lit a bomb to it, and then you just had who you are exactly in this moment forward, then how much could you make? If you really think about it and you put yourself in that state of mind, it would be much more than you're making.
Right. Can you tell us about the horses? This is
Yes.
one of my favorite things.
Yes, the horses. So during that time, the horses were a bit of a savior because even though investing wise and the wealth plan was on track for me to retire, I got really depressed during that time because it was too much about numbers. I felt like I was living
Right.
in a spreadsheet, like between my job of trading and between like building wealth and buying properties and all this, it was just like too inundated with numbers. I was also
Right.
studying for these massive financial exams, so I would come home from work and I would go straight to the coffee shop and I'd study until midnight, and then I'd get up and do it all over again. So finally,
Wow.
I just hit a breaking point where I was like, I can't do this anymore." So around that time actually is when someone joined the trading floor from India, and he started teaching me um, just the Hindu principles. Brought me all the books from. He grew up in an ashram, and he brought me all the books and Aurobindo and Ramana Maharshi and all that. So that really was like a wind beneath the sail because I was like, "Oh my God, finally something that I can connect with on a spiritual level that's not so 3D."
Yeah.
Right around that same time, I got invited to a 4th of July party, and this was at a campsite. And I pull up and I see this beautiful white horse. And I
Wow.
walked up to this white horse, who I now own that horse. And I looked in his eyes and I just saw the world in his eyes. And I'm like, I knew in that moment, I was like, "Ooh, something in my life is about to shift." It was very similar to, you meet people sometimes and you're like, something's going to change. And it
Yep.
did because I had an opportunity about a year later to buy that horse. I did.
Wow.
And then that shifted the winds of my life because what am I going to do with the horse? And I live in downtown San Diego. I had to change my life.
Right.
So I did, and the horses really, really brought me the grounding that I needed that I didn't have,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you had mentioned too that an investment property you had where you were sort of collecting extra, or the money from that was going to the horse sanctuary to
Yes,
save these horses too. So it became sort of your why, which you talk a
it
lot
did.
about.
It did. Yes, the horses, that was my why because I had to shift my why because having money in an account isn't really a good enough why. It's not gonna I don't think that many people are motivated by just having a bunch of numbers in their account because it really doesn't do much for you. Um,
Yeah.
so I shifted it to being able to donate back, and I saw myself as a vehicle of, well, the more expanded I get, the bigger I get, the wealthier I get, the more I can help horses. And horses being shipped across the border, I think there's about 150,000 horses that are shipped across the border every year for slaughter. And I was like, I know I don't want to
Jeez.
like run a rescue, but I want to donate to these, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. Bought a rental property, ended up turning it into a short-term rental, and then donating a lot of the money to horse rescues. Ended up meeting people through that. That ended up getting on a TV show, and like
Amazing.
the universe, this is what I have seen too, is when you get behind something energetically like that, we're never alone in it. The universe will
Mm,
definitely put the ball on things like that.
yeah. That's so beautiful. Talking a little bit about receiving,
Yeah.
the ability, the capacity to receive. You talk about needing nothing and receiving all,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
showing up needing nothing and receiving
Mhm.
all. So that ability to do that, can you speak a little to that or break that down a little bit for us? Because I think you describe it very beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah, that I took that on as my mantra. God, this was several years ago, and it seemed like to me a way to be in action and also create space at the same time in my life because um, energetically, when someone shows up in the room and they need nothing, they really are getting the best of everyone in the room because they're a space. So instead of them being like having themselves impact into everything, like an example would be, we've all been around the person who just has to dominate the conversation or has to make it about them or has to sell something or has to blah, 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 right? And energetically, what happens is we shut down to those people. We even just
Yeah.
subconsciously we do, right? And so the opposite of that would be someone who shows up as an open space and so that other people can feel themselves. And so I made a decision.
Mm,
I was like, I feel the best when I'm an open space and other people can feel themselves. I feel the best too. I'm like, that's the game here. And
yeah.
so I started practicing this where I was applying this to different areas of my life. How can I show up needing nothing and receive all when it comes to finances? How can I do that with
Yeah.
relationships? How can I do that with, a family member that maybe I don't love to be around, but I should go by and see them? Like something to that degree with being able to be the observer of my own need and seeing that my own need is in fact not only is it my responsibility, but it's also my key to abundance in this world because the removal of the need, what shows up in that space, because everything is energetically like a black hole, it's pulled into it. When that need gets removed, it has that magnetism and it pulls it in. So you are drawing in everything that you desire. Then we can't take
Amazing.
in anything that we don't agree to. So then what happens is we set our own state of allowing in terms of our agreement. I agree, and this is why people block money too, by the way, because you can be that space and you can be that open space, and you see a lot of people who have spiritual businesses and they're like, but I'm giving and I'm giving all this value, but I'm still don't have the money. Well, you can be that, but then if you've decided that you're only going to get $100,000,
Right.
or you've said it's going to take me a year to make 1 million, then you've agreed to wait and you've agreed to a certain amount without really we're not actually clear on our agreements is the problem in my.
Ha. Right. And so that really seems like to me the internal work that needs to be done around money, along with what you're saying is, um, would you say that internal work to look at what you're agreeing to,
Mm,
but also that sort of like worthiness and self-love part? Because if I don't feel worthy enough to receive more than, say, $100,000 for something, how does that work? You know what I mean? Like what do you teach around that?
yeah, well, we can't actually see what our agreements are. We think we can, but we
Okay.
really can't. The way that we see them, though, is we look at the reflection back of what our life has looked like. Whatever amount of money we make is the exact money that we've agreed to. So, what we do is we get into this overthinking process of trying to figure out all the ways and give me the plans and how do I do this and how do I do that, which all is from the function. It's just a derivative of the brokenness that we've already started with, right? So, in order to actually do this, we have to bypass the whole system of it, completely bypass the system by going out there, being new, basically
Mhm.
not doing something illogical, and then seeing what is new that is going to step into the space. The thing is, our logic is related to our unworthiness, and our unworthiness is reflected back in the amount of money that we make. And all of us carry it to a certain degree. I'm not a billionaire. Therefore, I don't feel like I'm worthy of being a billionaire. I do in my mind, but energetically, I'm not the self-expression of that. My choice now,
Yes,
and I've been thinking about this, is do I want to choose to be a billionaire? If I do, I can do that, but I must calibrate my way into that frequency.
I see. So it is a nervous system recalibration of, can you hold it? Can you hold it?
It's a nervous system calibration is part of it, but it's more of an action item, to be honest, because we
Mm,
can't actually be in action and be creating and be in fear at the same time. And so I think a lot of people do get pretty deep into this. My nervous system energetically won't take it, blah, blah, blah. I can see that to a certain degree, but and this is just me personally, I don't buy into it too much because I use the example of, well, if a war broke out and someone handed me $100,000 and said, "Get these people to safety," I wouldn't be worried about my nervous system. So why the
no.
hell am I using is that an excuse now? Is it that, or is it that I don't wanna be.
Ah, yeah. And the taking of responsibility for
Yeah.
my decisions,
Yeah.
my choices, radical kind of responsibility.
It
That
is. So I
and
think we have to take it with a grain of salt. There's some truth to it, but we have to make sure we don't get taken down the river by all that either.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. The part about debt that I love that you talk about,
Mm.
can you explain that a little bit? Because it's interesting the way you describe it, and it may be really helpful for some people listening to sort of reframe.
Well, debt is abundance because at some point, someone thought enough of you that they allowed you to have money. And you took that money, it's a form of money, right? And you took that money and you got something for it. Now, what's happening to a lot of people on the other side of that is they have regret about the decisions that they made. But having regret about
Mm.
a decision can apply to anything in life. It's not it's not singular to debt. If you start to see debt as, well, I did receive something and I'm just not in resonance with my decision, then you can bypass
Mm.
the guilt and really the shame and the heaviness that you would have with that a lot of the society puts on having debt. I don't know why people don't put that same shame on having mortgage debt, but if it's credit card debt, well, that's totally all of a sudden you're like this villain or something. I call bullshit on that. I'm like, no, everybody has done that to a certain degree. Let's just move on and get over it.
I love it. I love it. So cool. And then you talk about too, like, okay, there's two things that I love that you talk about. Peace being boring.
Mhm.
And that whole, like,
Mhm.
okay, well, just it's peaceful. But also, the same time, it feels so very aerodynamic because you have to flow with what is true, and what's happening is that you break the structure, like how we break the
Mhm.
structure, and how have you broken the structure sort of repeatedly in your path to sort of greater wealth, greater expansion? How has that worked for you in
Mhm.
your life, and what does that mean?
It's interesting because, I've gone through many phases as we all have. I would say the really my phases have been I've gone from really a highly emotional being. Like if you a lot of people feel or they say to me that they feel grounded I'm glad that people feel grounded around me, but I have zero earth in my chart. I am all fire and a little bit of air. I am literally so
Amazing.
I have been this very emotional being for a long time. And I have really only in the last few years been able to sort of diminish that bandwidth so that my energy is getting less caught up in the high points of the scale, both, top and bottom.
Yes.
And I've been
Yep.
able to mitigate that. My life has been greatly improved because everything's just energy and our only currency is our energetic currency, and so I'm
Mm.
spending less in those high points, and what I'm noticing is that I'm much happier because I grew up in a traumatic way kind of as a child with a lot of chaos around me, and so it was simply a familiarity, and I was masking that as happiness. Once that went
Uh,
away and I got used to the fact, I was like, it was almost like the silence was deafening around me. I got used to that. Then the true happiness came in, which is effectively I'm talking about. I just feel more of me in those diminished bandwidths.
wow. That's incredible. And um and this sort of the breaking of the structure, I know you did a big long walk, hike
Yeah, the Camino.
across Spain. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And tell me a little bit about that experience for you and what that did sort of internally to shift some things for you.
Well, that highly emotional, spoiled being did not like it in the very beginning when I had this heavy ass backpack and I was with a group of people who wanted to start at 5 a.m., which I don't mind getting up early. That's fine. What I did not like is to get up and immediately go start hiking with no coffee, no journaling, no nothing. All of that got thrown out the window. And so then once I figured out that I was not going to be able to change the system, I was like,
Right.
"Okay, I have to live with the system," right?
Right.
So I started, okay, fine. I've got my bottle of water. I get it. It gets hot around noon and we don't want to be still hiking. I get the principle. Finally, after I just let it all go and got out of my own resistance of it, what I realized is a new version of me came in, a new version that actually didn't need as much sleep, actually didn't mind doing the mornings. Actually,
Wow.
there was all these different things. What I realized is that I couldn't have created that on my own. Um,
Right.
there was a complete like I think of it like you see in the movies where like you go and you take your arm and you wipe all the fine china and all the candelabras and everything off the table at once, or you pull the tablecloth or whatever. That's what had happened to me, right? And I was like,
Wow.
oh well, this happens to people. Like a car accident happens, a death in the family, a job gets lost, and then people are
Yeah.
always different on the other side, and then they
Yeah.
look back typically and go, well, that was horrible, but wow, it's great because this is what came out of it. And I thought when I
Yeah.
was hiking one day, I was like, wait, why do I have to wait on the world to create disasters for me? What if I just break the
Yeah.
structure and do that voluntarily? Which is what happened on the Camino, because everything was taken away. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, the only thing that was left was, it's a kind of the equivalent of the silence. It's like, okay, here, Elizabeth, here's your bottle of water in your backpack. Are you going to get over it? And then when you do, you'll meet someone else, right? So
Right. Right. Right.
it
I
was
love it.
the concept actually, it shifted everything for me. It came into the teachings, and this was, I don't know,
Yep.
what, 3 years
Yeah.
ago? So
Yep.
I had three parts to the SI method at that point. The SI method, which I'm still teaching and have expanded on, is now 5 parts. Now I'm writing a book on it, and I talk
Amazing.
about it a lot in the
Yes.
podcast and all
Yes.
that.
Oh, so
So,
great. Yes.
it's we can't plan these things, but thank God that I had no coffee. Thank God.
I love it.
Yeah.
Can you tell people about the SI method? Because I know it's absolutely incredible, but tell us how it is, how it was formed, how it's expanded, how it serves people.
Yeah. Well, it started out because I just started looking at kind of what I was doing that worked. And that's how the spiritual investor even started out. I was like, well, I'm just going to teach people what I did that I know worked. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with them in a way that I can help them apply it to wherever they are. And that was how the spiritual investor began. And then what I did is I said, okay, well, instead of just like blah 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 talking to people, I got to have some kind of like, what's a structure, right? So I'd been living this before, but I put it into kind of three parts, which would be income, and then you've got your cash in, cash out, which would be your money management, and then you've got investing. And I thought, okay, let's just follow the lines on those, and then I'll help people in those areas. And then we're going to find our resistance. Everybody is better at one of those, and everybody thinks they're awful at one of those, and we got all that stuff, right? So that
Yeah.
was fine. And then what ended up happening is this concept of money neutrality kind of stuck in it.
Yeah.
It kind of brought itself into the space. And once I started
Mm.
talking about that, people were really, really, really interested in this concept of money neutrality. Well, then I was like, okay, money neutrality really is how you're kind of moving between these, almost like moving between these bases. Then the breaking of the structure came in, which is kind of the opposite of money neutrality in a way, but gets you to money neutrality. So now there's the 5 pieces of the SI method, which basically I teach them as a nonlinear system. So it's a nonlinear system that I don't even want to say it goes in a circle, because it doesn't. You can bounce back between each one. But what it does is most people, especially with regards to money, they're looking for a set, give me a plan. Like if you pick up any money book out there, or if you listen to any financial person, they're going to be like, here's steps 1 through 10.
Right.
So what bothered me is that every social media post that says steps 1 through 10, I'm like, that doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
How is that helpful? It's going to work for maybe a small percentage, but then I looked at it in terms of how many people are either feeling bad that they can't do those 10 steps, how many people are feeling like they're not good enough, how many people don't even understand the 10 steps, and how many people don't even need to do those 10 steps. It's a waste of
Right.
their time. So I started actually looking at all the misinformation that was out there that actually keeps people stuck. And I said, no, Nobody needs a step by step. What they need is to be able to use their own wisdom. The best answers are within us. So that's the
Yeah.
SI method is a non-linear. It's a structure, but it doesn't contain the step by step. You actually, with the energy of you see yourself inside of the steps, which I guide people through, and then you come up with the how to. Once I have seen people thrive in this because once people are sort of get over the, but Elizabeth, I need you to tell me what to do, how to invest, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose money. And da, da, da. Once we get beyond that and they do
Yeah.
see themselves,
Yeah.
it is miraculous. And here's another thing. I'll just say this last thing. When someone comes up with their own plan, it's a life shift. When someone
Mm,
listens to advice from someone else and tries something, it's kind of a
yeah.
waste of time.
Yeah.
So it's teaching people how to create their financial freedom and their financial life based on who they're becoming rather than who the financial
Beautiful.
world or me thinks that they should be.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Um, and can you speak a little bit about what money neutrality is for people who may not understand?
Yeah. So money neutrality, I see it as the greatest opening to money. We could even look at it as the concept that wraps around show up, needing nothing, receive all. When you are in money neutrality, then you are in whatever you are doing as a function of value, and the magnetism that actually goes into that is what becomes the connection for you to receive abundance in the world. Now, there's a function of money neutrality that's the state of allowing, because as we talked about earlier, you can be in money neutrality. And by the way, money neutrality isn't a feeling. It's not I feel in flow or I feel at ease, right? Money neutrality is showing up in your life and the direct level that you're receiving money. So you are, let's say everybody's in money neutrality just about with earning $100 a month. If I say, can you earn $100 a month? People say, yeah, that's easy. You're in money neutrality with that. What you want to be in money neutrality with is $500,000 a month. You're not in money neutrality with that yet. But there are people out there who think it is so no brainer, so easy to make $500,000 a month that they don't even change their lifestyle. It's just like, well, how could you be so silly? How could you not make $500,000 a month? So your work is not what do you need to do to get that, because that's always going to change. Your work is how do you get to money neutrality so you become on the frequency, stabilizing on the frequency of that, so that that is it's the only way that you're going to call in money effortlessly as well.
I love that because it's also asking you to expand, and grow and
Yes.
to meet that part of yourself. I would love to talk about investing as freedom because I think there are a lot of people who think it's dangerous still and that it is risky and that they have a sort of a not a great relationship with investing. And can you describe what investing is, what it can bring, why it is necessary?
hmm Well, I see investing as simply the expansion of money. That's, I kind of, you could even, to, if it helps you, because investing carries like a connotation with it, like you're saying, like people think it's risky and all that, which by the way, the only people that I've ever heard that think investing is risky are the people who are not doing it. No one who
Yeah.
has a seven-figure investing account looks back and says, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's risky," right? And if you look at the returns on the market for the last decade, them being between 18 and 24%, explain risky to me, really, if you're
Uh-huh.
thinking about it. If you look at the market and you look at the returns on the market, it's really difficult. To me, the riskiest thing is earned income, because earned income actually, on the other side of it, someone is making a decision in order for you to receive.
Mhm.
Investing is actually less risky than earned income, because investing is money that you have already earned. Hopefully, you haven't borrowed it. You've earned the money. Then you have put that money and you've said, "Okay, here universe, I'm giving you a dollar. Give me $1.20 back." Okay.
Hmm.
Well, even if the universe gives you back 90 cents, right? Where really is the risk in that? Because, if you look at, Jeff Bezos talks about this, the people who think that investing is risky don't fully understand it, because your downside is zero, which it's really not, because is a stock going to go to zero? Probably not, because the company owns assets, but your upside is infinite.
Yeah.
Infinite. I mean, I started buying, I've a lot of stocks that I love, but Micron at, $50, and now it's over $1,000. I've been buying that stock for 3 years. Even if the rest of my stocks, which 95% of the stocks that I do buy, they do well, right? Because
Hmm.
I have a connection to investing. But
Yes.
even so, do you see what I'm saying? Like, we have to really break down risk, because risk is causing people to stand on the sidelines. And the risk is that the cost of living is getting astronomical. Income is not keeping up with it, and people have less and less money. Interest rates on debt is high. There's the risk, not
Yeah.
the greatest financial engine that we've ever seen in our history. That's not the risk.
No. And it's been around for 100 years this year,
It's 100
correct?
years this year. Yeah.
It's
It's
incredible.
100 years this year. And, 10,000, I was just looking this up the other day. If you had invested $10,000 in 2010, today that would be worth 80 to 100,000. So every $10,000 would now be worth 80 to 100. And people
Wow.
are like, I don't know if I want to take that game. I don't know if I want to play that game. What? What? You're saying you wanna go to work and trade your time, and then someone could take that away from you any day?
Yes, yes, that work slave mentality. So I mean, I love your podcast for this because it's all about helping people, giving people something they can take away to use right away in their day, to change how they think about money, to change how they think about investing. What would you say to anyone who wanted to start investing today? What do they need to do?
Okay, I would say, diversification is the most important thing in your entire life. I would say there's no such thing as financial freedom unless you are diversified, because you can have a ton of money in the stock market, and then what if something does happen to it? All of a sudden, you don't have financial freedom. Diversification, even if you can only put in $50 a month, put something towards real estate, put it in an account that you're going to buy real estate, or you're going to invest in a REIT or something. Put something towards stocks and investing, and then invest in yourself. Those are the three things. There has never, and do all of them. Don't, you live in an and world, right? Don't choose, do all of them, and live into the fact that you are abundantly expanding every month. Get away from the amount and just go for it when it comes to those things, and don't overthink it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, see that right now is the greatest opportunity we have ever seen in history because of AI. So many people are really afraid of AI, but it's the first time in history that someone who is located anywhere in the world, who does have access to a phone and a few resources, can build the same level company as someone who has $1 billion that's sitting on a yacht. It is a level playing field right now, and your ability to bring in money has never been easier than it is now. Do that, bring in more money, and then take a portion of it and put it in the market. And don't get all, like I call it, fussed up. They say it in the South. Don't get all fussed up about what you're investing in and what the stocks are. And I shouldn't do this and da da da. Literally look at your investing account as you're just putting more wood on the fire. I don't sell
Hmm.
stocks. I haven't sold a stock in 4 years. I just keep adding and adding and adding, and I have
Mm,
astronomical returns on my stocks.
yeah. And not trying to time the market or going, oh, well, maybe
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
a great
Don't
time
try and time
now.
it.
Let's get in
No.
later.
No, if
Yeah.
Warren Buffett can't time the market, no one can.
So you, Elizabeth, you are writing a book.
Yes. Yes, I am, and it's one of the greatest, most, fun and also challenging and connecting things of my life. The editor and I have we've revamped it and done so many different ways of writing it, but I do feel like we have honed in on a way to write this book that is representative of the energy of just what I'm putting out here, which is nonlinear.
Yeah.
See yourself inside of it. Be able to, I want this book to be, if you can sit down and read one chapter and that's your takeaway, just like the podcast, you can listen to one episode and I want you to be able to get value. Same thing. Like you don't need to come, you can read the whole book, of course, but for us to write it in a way where someone can singularly understand it, we actually had to do a glossary because there's a lot of like weirdo spiritual investor terms. So we had to do that.
I love
And
it.
we had to make a few references like, don't worry, you'll get more info on this if you want to read chapter 13, right? Don't have to, but so of course it ends up, the editor was like, this is the most challenging project I've ever worked on.
That's
But she loves it too.
amazing.
She loves it too.
No.
So I think if I'm not having fun with it, it's really not going to get the best of me because
Yeah.
I only choose to do a few things. Like I choose to do 2 to 3 things and I put 200% in it and I leave the rest. So the book is definitely one of them. The podcast is one of them. Yeah, that's one of them. I
It's
really like
amazing.
that, as well. As you know, thank you so much for creating this podcast, by the way, and
Oh,
sharing
I'm
your
so
energy with
thrilled.
people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to have this conversation and to also listen to the wisdom that you have to share, which is so important at this
Mm,
time. I mean, it was always probably important, but it's so important, I think, especially for women.
yes.
You know, what would be what you would love to pass on, leave behind, contribute, expand in this crazy world, crazy, amazing world?
I met with the mastermind today, and actually this is something that came from one of the students today. So what I did today is, because we're in the second to the last week of it. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm not teaching this session. You guys are going to, and I said, I'm going to call on you one by one, and you're going to teach a concept that you've learned in this mastermind. I want it to come through you on your language, your explanation, blah, blah, blah. Because the way that I say something might land with someone and it might not. And a translation through someone else is a huge learning modality, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's learning for me too, because I'm sort of hearing it back in a new way, right? Which is why I'm bringing this up here. So
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
said that something that really, really landed with her, and this was a couple of weeks ago. We have theme weeks, and the week was increasing your income.
Mhm.
She said what landed with her, and she has seen tremendous money and abundance in all areas since then. And I could tell it landed with her by the way she said it. She said that when I said, your income is you, that she finally got that every dollar that comes in is her, and the
Mm,
output is her, and the transactions that go on, they're all her. And when she
wow.
finally got that, then what it did is it completely dropped the shell of conditioning of what everyone else has defined as money and freed her up to be so responsible and energetically connected with it. But in that same moment, also realizing it's completely 100% her game. And so she
Wow.
just going back to when I guess I said, your income is you. And
Mm,
so I don't know, that was just said today. If
powerful.
that helps someone, I would say that's
Very
something.
powerful. Yeah. That's incredibly powerful. It's so inspiring to be around you. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. I can't wait to read your book. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited. That's
Thank
gonna be
you.
amazing. Maybe we
Yeah.
can have a book launch, as part of
Yes.
your book tour. It'd be great
Yes.
to
I'd
have
love
you
that.
back on and talk about it. Can't wait to read it. What else is bringing you happiness and joy and expansion the most these days?
I've actually gone back to designing my life again. I think sometimes, we come up with these designs. I talked about the original design that I did with, even retiring. And then I got divorced. And so then I had to, by default, I was like, okay, I got to come up with a new design. Well, now, I'm several years on the other side of that. And I'm in a wonderful relationship. So now it's sort of causing me to go, well, what's my new design, right? And
Yeah.
I'm at a different level now. And so I encourage people to maybe rethinking your design is a great thing because we expand, we evolve, but then we just keep the same money stuff that we did 2 years ago. Like, doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun. I have a horse ranch in Tennessee, which I
Nice.
really, really enjoy, and I've been building that out. I'm now building out the when I remodeled the house. It's a family property. I remodeled the house. I built all the horse facilities in the barn and got all that settled. And then I traveled and kind of took a break, and now I'm back into it with doing a build out and big garden and things like that. So I'm excited about that, and that being where I spend part of my time. And then I'm also spending part of my time in California. And then I'm traveling quite a bit because my partner lives in
Amazing.
California. And then I'm traveling quite a bit for really podcast interviews. I'm
It's
doing a lot
amazing.
of in person, which I love. Oh my,
Oh, that's great. We should do one in person with your
I
book.
know we should.
Let's
You're
do
right.
that.
Let's do that. Okay, let's
Let's
do that
we're gonna do it. When is your book coming out? Do we know?
next year, next spring.
Next year.
Yeah, so a
Amazing.
little bit
That's
before, but we
perfect.
could do it
Next spring.
before. We could do it for the pre-launch. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that would be amazing. I would love that.
Yes. Oh my god.
And I'm so excited for all you're doing and expanding and creating and helping others. And I can't wait to watch you continue to grow and, write this book and have it be out in the world. And it's wonderful to talk to you. Thank you.
You too. You too. Thank you so much for this. I mean,
Thank
incredible.
you.